So, welcome back to the journey. Today we're going to talk with Joanne Eisenstadt, and we're looking forward to another trip along the way of what God's doing in her life. And so, welcome back, everybody. So, welcome to you.
Thanks. It's nice to be here. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, we're very interested. You're one of many wonderful people here at St. Joseph, and we see your smiling face in the pew, and I'm sure other people do. And we want to know, who is this lady, right? What is her story? And so I guess I'm always curious, how did you get to St. Joseph? And, we'll talk about some other things later, but how did you come here, and how long have you been here?
Let's see. I started coming here about 3 years ago. I had quite an incredible experience, which I'm sure we'll touch on, and called a good friend of mine in tears and said, I need more God in my life. That is literally what I said. And I asked if I could accompany her and her husband to church that Sunday, and I've been coming ever since.
Wow, what a thing to declare. I need more God. I wish more people would say that. And
Me too.
I think there are probably a lot of people that landed here for the same reasons.
Yeah.
So, you felt this real need. So my guess is you were going through one of the hiccups, or what do we call them in a journey? Sort of a detour or a bump in the road.
Well, I think we've all had some bumps in the road over the last several years. And my bump was quite exciting back in 2020 when we were going through COVID, and everyone was spending a lot of time at home with family, working remotely or not working at all. And I'm a very social butterfly, and I had never been religious, and I was very lonely and doing a lot of thinking and spending a lot of time working, which was not very fulfilling from a spiritual standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down one day just really upset about the state of the world, and I started reading the Bible. And as I read, I just kind of opened it to any page, as my friend instructed me to do. If you get the urge, just open it up. And I started reading it, and I said to my husband, this mirrors everything that we're going through in modern society. It's like reading stories that are happening right now, but it all has happened in the past. And it was just an incredible realization.
Yeah.
So I started to read more and feel really sad about the direction that things were going in from a humanity standpoint, and started spending more time reading in different Bible sections, and was really having a hard time reining in my emotions. I felt broken inside. Some things had happened to me in my past also that made life very difficult for me. I lost my 16-year-old daughter to brain cancer 14 years ago. And we had a really incredible journey through her illness. And I learned a lot during that time. You really actually receive a lot of blessings when you're dealing with a cancer diagnosis.
I don't think very many people see that or believe that.
It's true.
Did you, I have lots of questions, of course, did you see it at the time, or did it take you a while to?
I think you feel so much love. You're surrounded by so much love when you go through a difficult time in your life. When community and friends all come together to support you. Sorry, you're gonna have to cut that.
Feeling that kind of love, you're saying, it sort of brings out the awareness of the blessing.
Yes.
Is what's happened.
We were just surrounded by, we would get cards, there were fundraisers, Megan's friends would come over all of the time, and we would do special events together, and I guess illness brings out the best in people. So I did feel all that love as I went through the journey, and I do reflect on that, and I'm very thankful. But there was a lot of pain after Megan passed away, and I got lost when she died. I kept telling my bestie, It feels like my soul is dying. I felt like my soul was dying. And I didn't know how to fix it. You know, you search for happiness in life. We all experience loss. But, you know, we search for it in all of the wrong places. So I'm going to bring us back into now. One day when I was feeling this pain that I carried with me every day, like a cloak, I fell to the floor in my family room looking at the sky. And I received a message from God. And I didn't understand what it was. But whatever it was, and I'll tell you those words in a second, it was so intense that I kept sharing the message for the next couple of months as I went out around other people. The message was, the truth is coming. As odd as that sounds, the truth is coming. And I didn't know if it was the truth about things that are being debated in society, or if it was the truth about God, or if it was some other truth that I just wasn't reckoning with at the time. But it was such a compelling feeling. And I kept telling everyone the truth is coming. I don't know what that means, but it's coming. Something is coming, and it's really big, and it's going to change all of our lives.
Wow.
But I don't know where that came from.
And that was recently? That was 3 years ago?
That was 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. And I couldn't stop crying. It was a positive message. It didn't feel like a warning. But I later learned that you could call that a locution, which is an internal message from God. I had never gotten any kind of message like that before. So I launched into pursuing I went through the RCIA class, and I was baptized and confirmed on the eve of Pentecost 2021. And I'm so happy to be part of the Catholic Church here at St. Joseph. And it has just made my heart flourish. And that feeling, that cloak of heaviness that I had, it has completely lifted. And I don't know how else to explain it to you.
Wow.
So,
I mean, that's huge, because God encountered you.
He did. He answered me.
He answered you. He encountered you. He spoke to you. I mean, those are the things that we all hope for, hearing from God. I mean, we read the Bible and we read all sorts of stories about people encountering God. And
Yes.
Whether people acknowledge it or not, I think that's what we're all waiting for.
Yes.
You know, speak to me. And that was a huge piece. So you responded. I mean, your heart must have been open.
Yes. I've always been somewhat spiritual. So.
And that's interesting because you said you've never been religious.
Right, but they're different, right?
Yeah. Good. If it's okay,
Sure.
I want to talk about that. But I also want to say thank you for sharing that very personal and heavy story. I know that's difficult. I can't imagine going through it myself. God has blessed you as a result of it, but we don't want to have to go through these things even still. So, but I thank you for sharing that. But I sense you as a spiritual person, but you said you've never been religious. So take us back. What do you mean by always been a spiritual person? What's that mean?
Well, my story is tragic. I'm a tragic character. My mom passed away when I was 13 years old. And so I had three older brothers and a dad. But, I was the only girl in the family. So I really struggled growing up, made a lot of bad decisions in my life. I was raised Jewish, and we did dinners on the high holy days, and I would go to synagogue twice a year. And I didn't understand a single word that they were saying when they were speaking in Hebrew, which was frustrating because you want to be part of that, but there was a big disconnect. So,
let me ask a question. Was your father or your brothers, were they more religious? Did they go more often?
not at all.
Okay, so.
I remember my mother asking me, "Do you want to go to Hebrew school?" And my girlfriend was there, Lisa, and she said, "No, you don't want to go. Don't do it." So I said, "No, Mom, I don't want to go." Well, I ended up regretting that my whole life because I felt like I missed out on a lot of different things that come with, going through that process religiously. And I remember my one brother was very bad, and he would hide. So my mom arranged for the rabbi to come to our house to teach him. And I can remember standing outside playing with my girlfriends, seeing the rabbi walk down the street saying, Giddy, where are you? And he could never find him. He was
That's your brother's name?
My brother, right. Yes.
Oh, gosh.
So
Wow. It's like calling the cops almost.
it was kind of funny. So no, we were not very religious in my family, and my mom died. Nothing really changed. I still wasn't religious at all. My father didn't take me to synagogue. But when I grew up and I had a daughter of my own, I made a decision based on what I felt like I had missed out on to push her to get bat mitzvahed and confirmed. And she did all of that. And that's a whole nother probably sit-down session, because that story is quite amazing. The short version is we arranged for her bat mitzvah, and I actually received a feeling. It wasn't words, but I received another message back then on my way to work one morning that I needed to change the date of the bat mitzvah. And I called the synagogue in tears, and they were like, we can push it off. You have plenty of time. And I said, no, you don't understand. It needs to be sooner. And they said, are you sure you want to do that? Because that doesn't give very much time to prepare. She's got to memorize all of this. You've got to arrange the party, blah, blah, blah. I said, yes, that's what I have to do. That's what I feel like I need to do. And I thought I was going to be sick. I felt like that was the message I was getting. It was her. Her bat mitzvah was originally scheduled in November of that year, and she was diagnosed October 1st. So she ended up being bat mitzvahed. It was an incredible blessing experience. We learned a lot through that. But yet our family was still not very religious. So I kept having these spiritual encounters and feelings, but I didn't study religion. I didn't learn anything about Judaism or read the Bible or Catholicism, nothing. And it wasn't until COVID, when you are alone in your thoughts and you contemplate everything you've been through in your life, and you know there's got to be something more, and you get hungry for love, that's when you search for the Bible. And
it's interesting you're saying that, because I was saying to someone recently how we avoid those times of silence. We fill our life with noise and people and events and entertainment, and I'm talking about myself here. And then when we do finally quiet down,
that's when we learn.
It's an amazing and wonderful thing. Yes. That we give God a chance. I also heard something once where somebody said, you've got to create a God-friendly environment.
Yes.
He's not going to push his way in. He's the gentleman.
That's true.
Right?
Yes.
And so he's not going to bombard you or bully you into listening.
That's true.
So you need to stop. Well, you definitely sound like you were a spiritual person. And so the time of COVID, it makes me wonder if we need to, create those COVID moments more often. I mean, I don't want another pandemic, but
no. Well, I think that the way society has been structured could be restructured, and we could all live better lives if we left a sufficient amount of time for that quiet. But the world doesn't want us to. It's
Yeah.
very difficult. I don't watch TV anymore. I can't listen to the same music I used to listen to.
As a result of your encounter?
Yes. Because everything in the world looks different. It looks, not that TV's evil in and of itself, but the things that man creates to put in our heads are not healthy. So
you've maintained a God-friendly
I have.
environment.
Yes.
I mean, can you tell us some more about that? I mean, that's significant for all of us to hear, because we are listening to someone who's doing it.
I mean, I was just like everyone else. I would always have the television on or the music on, and actually, we would, you get crazy if there's no sound in the house. You're like, I gotta have some kind of sound. Now, if we turn the TV on to watch a movie, I get agitated about 5 minutes in just from the music. It's like the frequencies are designed to disrupt our peace. I don't know how else to describe it.
Wow, that's pretty well said.
So,
that's really good.
but so no TV, and I still sneak in a little bit of my music once in a blue moon, but for the most part, I prefer to listen to 92.7 or some other type of music, or I listen to a lot of Catholic podcasts, and I have only scratched the surface. I have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
But when I spend my time listening to, talks about Catholicism and God or Judaism or whatever it is, when I listen to those things, and when I read prayer, and when I read the Bible, and when I discuss those things with people who also get it, I'm at peace. I find this peace that I had been searching for years after Megan passed away. It's just a quiet. It quiets my whole body. I don't know how else to describe it.
Well, that's what we all desire, and we have a role in creating that, is what you're saying.
Yes, you can't do it. Or it doesn't fall in your lap.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
You need to put effort into spending the time to listen to these other things instead of what the world puts in front of our face.
It's a discipline, and I think so much of our life focuses on, I'm free to do what I want.
Free will.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Yeah. I mean, and that's really what sabotages us.
That's a whole other session again.
Yeah. So, Joanne, I'm curious how your Catholic self now is reminding you of your Jewish past, and how the two of those things, work together or live in you.
Well, I actually didn't know a whole lot about Judaism before I came to the Catholic Church. And so I've thought about spending some time talking with Father John about that, because I think he's very learned in a lot of the different religions. He's a historian. So at some point I'd like to talk to him about that. But
well, his specialty is the Old Testament, and so therefore I think that would be
beneficial,
interesting for
you.
you.
And I actually just started doing Bible in a year, because I've never read the whole Bible. So I started from the beginning and I guess learning my roots for the first time. I mean, I've heard little bits and pieces. But what I find that I have a connection with is Mary and Jesus. They were Jews, right? And I guess we're all connected. Judaism and Catholicism are connected at the root.
We don't think about that very often, I don't think.
Well, I didn't even realize that, because I'd never contemplated it before. But when I came into the church and started learning about what Jesus did for all of us. And so I look at some of the stories I read in the Bible about what they went through in Israel in those days. And it wasn't called Israel then, I don't think. But I see a lot of similarities now. in my Jewish community. I hate to say that, but people who just don't want to believe. So it's a little bit hard for me with a lot of Jewish friends. Some of them know I converted, and some of them I haven't discussed it with them yet. It's a difficult topic because they didn't believe the story about Jesus being, resurrected. And so how do you even begin to have dialogue with?
Yeah, that would be really challenging.
So I haven't gotten that far because I feel like I have a lot to learn still before I can dialogue with them about that. But
well, your Jewish friends are no different than non-Jewish people who refuse to believe.
That is
in
true.
that regard.
Yes.
We all have the same experiences with people that just shut Jesus out.
I think it's easier for me to believe in the resurrection of Jesus than other people because I've seen signs and spiritual happenings at different intervals in my life, and they can't be explained any other way other than God's hand was in it.
Right. As I came to this interview, I was thinking about something I read not long ago about how all of us, especially people who are actively seeking, God, we're just looking around for clues that he's real.
Right.
And that he is who he says he is. And those clues are in our lives and reflecting on what we're doing here today on the journey.
Yes.
Look back at your life. When Father John and I first met, I'll just share this that I've shared before once for other place. We got together on like our second date and shared our life map journey. And the question was, where have you seen God in your life? And so that's really what we're doing, is sharing in this episode and all the journey interviews. And what you're saying is reflecting back on your life, you can tell God did it.
Definitely.
God was there. He orchestrated the things that you've experienced, and therefore giving him credit for that.
Yes, I'm a believer. And, I think as we grow up and have more of these spiritual experiences, we tend to explain them away. It was a fluke, it was this, it was, but at some point, certain things make you ask, that can't be a fluke, can it? And then you start to open up.
I'm wondering, when these things happened with you, did you talk about it with anybody right away?
Yes.
Or did you just sort of collect them and then one day?
I mean, just close family members or friends right away. Whenever I had one of these encounters, I had immense tears for no reason. It was very, very intense. So.
Well, I would venture to say that those are healing tears in some regard.
Yes.
But when Father John and others talk about God encounters, they're intense. And you can't help but fall down, cry, whatever.
It's true.
When you're meeting face to face with God.
I had another encounter, if you want to hear it.
Of course.
Megan was being treated at Johns Hopkins. She was getting chemo, and it wasn't going well. And I got a phone call on a Friday morning that we were not to come anymore for treatment, that it wasn't working, and we were going to have to explore other options, but Hopkins had nothing to offer. It was a really difficult phone call.
Ow.
And I had to find a way. We already had a plan set for what we were going to try to pursue next through a different hospital. And I was trying to figure out how, in God's name, literally, I was going to tell my daughter when she got up why we weren't going back. Those are the kind of things that are agonizing for a parent with a sick child. just having to convey information to them is very difficult. So she was asleep. She liked to sleep late. And I went to work because I just couldn't sit still. And I wandered around the office crying that morning for a couple of hours, saying, how am I going to do this? How am I going to find the words? And I went home and I was really distraught. And I went out in my backyard. I'm a gardener, so I have gardens all over the place. Not gardeners. Anyway, I stood there in front of my long bed and I held my arms up to the sky. And it was bright blue and there were puffy clouds everywhere. And it was very windy. And I said, with tears rolling down my face, help me, I can't do this. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to do this. And suddenly, I felt this calm go through my whole body from head to toe. I stopped crying. I walked back into the house very calmly. I sat down on the sofa and I smiled. And all the fear just disappeared and I felt confident. And I didn't plan anything that I was going to say. And she came downstairs in a little bit and she said, Mom, why are we not packing up and heading to the hospital? And I said, and I smiled with this big smile and I said, come over here and talk to me. And she sat down and I somehow found the right words and she was laughing and happy and comfortable and we hugged and I told her what we were going to do and she said she loved me. And a couple minutes later, a storm came through and knocked a tree down in our backyard, which I thought was weird, but stuff happens, right? But I do think that was the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. I do think that I got a little help because I asked for it that day. Mm-hmm. But if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it usually. So.
Yeah, the power of prayer, the power of simple requests even. I mean, we forget that these things are within our reach.
Yes. Well, a lot of us grow up not being taught any of that either. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't learn anything about religion or spirituality growing up. And so we don't look for it. And it's like there's this whole other world that exists inside of us, in our spirit, and in how we, interact with other people. The world is hardened, but there's a soft part in all of us, and we just don't know how to tap it. And religion is really a huge thing to do to tap into that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, our faith requires exercise and structure sometimes. Yes. And so when we come to Mass, when we have communion, when we pray, when we get involved in just doing things with other parishioners,
yes,
it builds up the faith. It builds your faith. You hear other people's stories, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You find out that God works in their lives, and all of this is important. Wow. What a story, Joanne. I knew you had told me a little of this before, and I knew that we were in for quite a story, and it's so exciting to listen to. I was very excited to be able to talk with you today, and I'm really glad about that, and that you were willing to share. And I hope that people that are listening, all of you out there, will realize we all have a story to tell. Some may be more dramatic, but no less important, no less unique, no less valuable to your own growth, to your own faith, and to the faith of the people that you're talking with. So thank you. I think we'll wrap it up for there. It sounds like we might be able to tap into you next year because you'll have more stories for us, right? And they're not just stories, folks. These are very special life experiences of God touching you, affecting your life, changing your life. And whoever it was that I read, we're all looking for clues that God is who he says he is. And there are lots of them out there, and we just heard a bunch today. So
Mm.
I hope you're going to be willing to share your story and come and let us know what God's doing for you. So till next time.